the day-to-day challenges of living, we're often called to open our hearts and minds to that idea of love and whatever that means. And for me, love is about acceptance. It is about oneness. And so when we come to that place of knowing that God, spirit, universe, whatever name we want to use, that energy permeates everything. So it is each one of us. It is the computers or tablets or phones that we're on in order to connect. It is the waves that connect us. It is everything we think, say, and do. Everything is this one thing. Now we forget that, and we find ourselves separating. We find ourselves looking at the news and going, oh, isn't that bad, awful? Isn't this terrible? Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this great? And we've got all this division. Everyday grace comes from that awareness that everything that is going on is happening within this one experience, this one thing. And because there's only one thing, the way I think, speak, act, is a consciousness that goes in and either lifts or pulls down. So what are we doing? So the key to really moving forward is about our faith. And our faith gets built by practice and proving the principles. It's like when we've had a healing in our body or our finances or our relationships, when we've had a healing, our faith is elevated, right? It's in that moment where we go, whoa, that really, I prayed and it worked. What if we understood that every word we think goes into the one consciousness, the one divine energy, it's a prayer to God, and God is saying yes to all of it. God is saying yes to all of it. The idea of grace is acknowledging that there's a power and presence in the universe that is saying yes to us. The question that we have, that we need to contend with, is what am I putting out that the universe is saying yes to? We all have in our minds stories about ourselves. We have forgotten that we're created in the image and of the likeness. Therefore, we are in fact perfect, whole, and complete. Our behavior might be questionable, but who we are is perfect, whole, and complete. So when we come to that idea of hope and forgiveness and making miracles, that happens not by accident, but by us acknowledging who we really are and then living from that awareness. So we have to shift from the idea of religion to this place of mysticism. And a mystic is somebody who is living from that awareness that I am a host to God, not a hostage to the ego. Those are words of Marianne Williamson, and I loved it. Am I a host to God, or am I a hostage to the ego? And most of us, unfortunately, are still looking at the world out here like that is gospel. But the world that we live in was created by an idea that we held in mind last week, last month, last year, yesterday, or 2 hours ago. When we are living in faith, it's calling us to believe in that divine wisdom within, rather than the material world that we have already created. So we have to switch our thinking a little bit in order to experience this grace. Grace comes by my awareness or my surrender or my ability to have absolute faith in this one divine presence. That within me, there's the ability to do, be, have anything. And it's not that I can control the world out here, because I can't, but what I can control is in here. And when I begin to live from a place of forgiveness, I mean, think about forgiveness for a second. Probably every one of us in this room right now has someone, something that we could forgive. And maybe we're saying, yeah, no, I can't right now because so-and-so did such and such, and man, I can't forgive that. When we live in that place of judgment, when we live in that place of non-forgiveness, resentment, guilt, shame, whatever's holding us, we are bound. We are bound, and that's living from the ego consciousness. That's not living from the divine. And when we're bound like that, our body and our world is going to reflect a consciousness of restriction, a consciousness of suffering. Now, pain in life is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And the idea of grace is when I can look at the world and go, this is an effect of a previously held idea. And yes, it's real. And it has no power over me, because there's a greater power within me that as I tap into that, as I allow myself to acknowledge the oneness that I am with all people, like I am me and you are you, and I am you and you are me. Like when we get that, it changes the game. All of a sudden, there's nothing for me to fear or to resist. There's an opportunity for me to choose to live in that place of absolute faith that there is something within me that is far more powerful than anything I can see, touch, or feel. And when I believe that, I'll begin to see the results. So we're being called to experience grace in a new way, or maybe to experience it for the first time. Grace is that place of, oh, it's just this divine moment of peace and calm, this place of yes. And when we live in that state of empowered consciousness, when we look at our world and go, I am the creator of my life experience because I co-create with God. And because I can create any way, when I say I'm a loser, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I made a mistake, I'm an idiot, God is saying, yes, 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 and expanding that experience for us. When we sit back and go, I am divine, I am one with the absolute, there is this infinite presence as me, being me, with me, always creating through me. I co-create with it. When I live in that place and the universe is saying to me, yes, 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 it begins to pull experiences into my life. I'm pulling them. The universe is working with me. I'm working with it. We want to come to a place of experiencing grace, not by accident, but by a clear sense of knowing. There is only one power, and it's right here, right now, with every single one of us, and we're playing small. We've received messages in our youth. We've received information from the media that somehow we're not good enough, we're not tall enough, thin enough, short enough, young enough, old enough, whatever the story may be, all of these enoughness. And what we need to come to understand is we are enough. We've been created in the image and of the likeness of the one. We are enough. We are sufficient to whatever it is we're here to do. And our life experience is really about living that divine potential. That's what we're here to do, live the divine potential. And we came in with it. It's not separate from us. It hasn't been withheld. It's not something we need to locate or find. It's right here where we are. And because of the conditioning we've received as, throughout our childhood or whatever, we may have gotten messages that suggest to us that the way we are is not acceptable. So the messages I got as a kid were, shut up, you're too loud, you talk too much, nobody wants to hear what you have to say. This was a constant message. So that impacts us as we grow older, because we start to quiet ourselves down, we start to restrict the things we say and do, we start to hold back. And what we're doing is we're living from that ego consciousness of trying to be acceptable to the people around us. And what we haven't realized is the people around us don't know us. The people around us will project onto us their discomfort with themselves, making it impossible for them to be able to receive us. So when we feel a deep resistance to somebody or something, that's an opportunity to check in and go, wow, I'm feeling really strongly about this. What in me has linked to it, or what is it calling forth in me? And as we begin to take responsibility for how we're living, we're more apt to experience grace every day, because we take time with ritual, we take time to remind ourselves. And that's where our spiritual practice comes in. We get up in the morning and maybe we read something empowering. I'm currently reading a book called The Quimby Manuscripts, which was edited by H. Dresser. And what he's talking about in here, Quimby is the father of New Thought. He's the place this all began. I mean, this wisdom is known forever, but we call it New Thought. And it's New Thought, but it's age-old wisdom. And what Quimby proved was how suggestible our minds are. And what are the suggestions we're putting in? And if we could clear up the negativity, if we could begin to feel really good about ourselves, if we began to come from a place of love of self, what happens is when I love myself enough, I have the energy to love you. I have the ability to be in community with the people around me without fearing who they are, what they're doing, what their agenda is. You know, are they going to hurt me? We give up all that type of division and we listen to that still small voice, because it will keep us safe. It will move us and lead us. There's a wisdom within us that is all powerful. And often we ignore it. So we want to stop doing that. We want to realize that our thoughts of judgment block the light that we are, and that everything we do is taking us somewhere. Everything that happens in our life is redirecting or moving us in another direction. And whatever's going on is taking us to our highest and best good. So if we're experiencing a health issue or a financial crisis or a relationship problem, if we look at that and instead of trying to push it away, we take a moment and go, "Oh, where are you taking me? What is happening here right now that is taking me to my highest and best good? What is this telling me? What is the message here?" And if we can just sit in it, and I know I've had physical pain, I've had financial pain, I've had relationship pain. It's hard to sit in it. I get that. It really is. But this is where our faith comes in, where we know that the glory of God is far beyond any situation we might find ourselves in, that there is a power and presence in the universe that is saying yes to everything I think, say, and do. What am I saying? What am I thinking in the back of my mind? Oh, I'm such an idiot. What if instead we looked in the mirror every day and went, oh, I am such a miracle. Look what God has created. I'm doing a book study right now. Life loves you. There's a mantra. Life loves you. Not because you earned a degree, not because you didn't go out drinking last night, not because, you didn't say any swears. Life loves you because you exist. And there's nothing you can do to alter or change that. You might pretend it's not true, but that's pretense. The truth is, life loves you. Or put another way, God loves you. The universe loves you. This infinite creative oneness loves you and is going to support you in everything you believe to be true. And in order to experience grace, sometimes we have to check in with those beliefs. What is it I believe about life? If I want to know, all I have to do is look around me, because what I believe has created where I currently exist. And if there's something about it I don't like, that's okay. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's just like, oh, okay, error thinking. Let me go in and check where that came from. Because here's the thing, the majority of your thoughts, they're not even yours. Have you ever yelled at your kids or said something to someone and went, whoa, that was my mom? What's my mom doing coming out of my mouth here? We will sometimes say and do things based on what we've been told in those first 7 years. We will find ourselves repeating words or phrases that we heard from people. But here's the thing that Quimby discovered is we have the ability to change our thoughts. And when we change our thoughts and change our mind, our world reflects something new back to us. It changes around us. And we have to remember, we can't change what is. What is has already been created. When I change my mind right now, my future is automatically changed. What are the choices that we're making? What are the decisions that we're living in right now? Have we realized that we are divinely empowered consciousness? Wow, divinely empowered consciousness. That's in you. That's in me. We have this divine presence, this energy of love and possibility that's right here. And all we have to do is breathe into it, take time in it every day. I did an interview on Friday with a woman by the name of Jan Phillips, and she is a mystic and just a remarkable, powerful, dynamic being. Her website is janphillips.com. But she lived most of her life as a Catholic, like all her young days as a Catholic. And then at 18, she went in to become a nun because her whole life was about her relationship with the divine. And then they found out she was gay and she was excommunicated, kicked out of church, kicked out of the nuns, kicked out of everything because she's bad and wrong. And what she came to realize was religion had placed a judgment on who she is, but God doesn't do that. And she's living as this mystic, as this person creating peace and love and connection. We are here to connect with one another. We are here to acknowledge our own divinity and begin to live from it. Grace happens not by accident. It happens by our awareness of our oneness with the divine. My first experience of grace happened when I was 27, and I had just a moment of, I call it an epiphany, going from darkness to light. That's how it felt, like somebody flipped a switch. And all of a sudden I could see clearly. And it was an inner seeing. I could see that there's a power for good in the universe and that it's right here and that its name is love. That's what I knew in that moment. And that's what I've been living ever since. And as my life has had the bumps in the road and the struggles and the difficulties that we all face, what's happened is every day in every way, I get to re-examine, what am I thinking about today? What is it I'm believing about the world today? Am I depressed? Am I upset? Am I allowing the news or the media to determine how I think and feel? And when I catch myself overwhelmed, I stop. And the first thing I did years ago was shut the news off because it was so depressing. It was hard to maintain this feeling of warmth and possibility and hope when I would look and hear a news story over and over and over again, repeating the horrors going on around us. And it's not that I ignore those things or bury my head in the sand. I don't. I know what's going on around us. There's always somebody who will tell me, or there's always a little snippet that sneaks in. So I know. And when I get this information of, a war in Israel between the Palestinians and the Israelis, as I begin to see what's happening in Ukraine with Russia, when I look at what's happening in the US between cultures, when I look at what's happening in families between parents and children or siblings, we wonder why there's war. It's because we can't accept ourselves. We haven't accepted who I am as a divine creative being. How could I possibly accept you as a creative divine being? It has to start right here. So each one of us has our work to do. We need to fall in love with how we were made, to acknowledge that there's this one power, one presence, and it made me. It made me perfect, whole, and complete. Whether my parents agree, whether my boss agrees, my spouse, my children, it doesn't matter who agrees. It's truth, capital T, truth. I'm created in the image and likeness of the One. This is the only thing we ever need to remember. We are one with God, period. All that God is, I am. The power, the presence, the possibility, all of it right here. Am I living that life? Or am I seeking and searching? Some of us come into these new thought centers to be healed. Healing really is remembering. It's kind of forgetting the conditioning in the past and remembering the truth. So miracles happen not by accident, by grace. They happen in the moment that I acknowledge and recognize I am one with God. I am one with God. My heaven is my awareness of that, and my hell is my forgetting it. Today, I choose to remember. And so I take time in the morning for prayer and meditation. I take time to be grateful, to look around and to see the beauty that surrounds me. I take time to acknowledge the people in my life and what they mean to me and the hope that I have as a result of our relationships. It allows me to be better, to be stronger. Forgiveness frees me from the past. Love allows me to connect in the moment, and my faith keeps me moving forward. The prayer that I do has a way of rendering the ego powerless and reminding the mind of our eternal innocence. Those are the words of Marianne Williamson. Prayer has a way of rendering the ego powerless, reminding the mind of our eternal innocence. How beautiful is that? Every day in every way, we have an opportunity to absolutely accept ourselves as we are. To let go of the shoulda, woulda, couldas, the tries, the maybes, to let go of the, who hurt our feelings or who said what. Letting go of the mistakes our parents may have made or the mistakes that we've made in our own parenting or work life or relationships overall. What if we just let it all go? What if we let go of the past, going, it has no power here? The only power in this moment is the power of the One. And I choose to acknowledge that. I choose to allow myself to have faith that somehow, some way, there is an answer to my current dilemma. And I'm not going to find it in the world of effect. I have to go back to cause. I have to go back in that divine aspect of me going, now what? What do I need? What am I being called to? If there's a wall in front of me, it's time to change direction. If there's a particular difficulty I'm facing, trying to push it away will not work, because whatever I resist persists. What I need to do is surrender. Surrender into that place of knowing all is well. Might not look like it at the moment, but this is moving me somewhere. And I'm ready to be moved. I'm ready to be changed at depth. I'm willing to dig a little deeper to find the truth of who I am and what's possible for my life. I'm willing to experience grace. Let us go into meditation. I invite you to just relax, close your eyes if you're comfortable, and just take a deep breath in. And whatever thought comes to mind, just embrace it. Just embrace it. Let it come. Acknowledge it. And just allow it to flow out as easily as it came in. In this moment of quiet, I tell myself, and I invite you to tell yourself, life loves me. Repeat that in your mind. Life loves me. Life loves me. And as a result of that love, I am free to be me. I'm free to shine brightly. I'm free to stand out in a crowd. I am free. I am free. Repeat that as a mantra. I am free. Every time a thought enters your mind, just say, life loves me. I am free. Repeat that. Life loves me. I am free. And taking a deep breath in. One more deep breath. Now gently bringing yourself back to this now moment, accepting and knowing that all is well. And so it is.